And we are ready for launch. We're coming to you live from the Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas on the 7th of February, 2018. This show is sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and the separation of church and state. If you want to learn more about the ACA, you can call our voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit their website at www.atheist-community.org. Non-Prophets broadcast live every first and third Wednesday of each month from 7:30 to 9 Central Time. You can join the Non-Prophets chat room by following the directions at www.nonprophetsradio.com. So sit back and enjoy the launch.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
I didn't have an intro ready, so I just...
That's fine.
I can understand that. You only had 5 weeks to write one.
Thanks.
That sounded almost like you had prepared something. How's everybody doing?
Good.
After the 5 weeks. We're well and truly into 2018 now.
What's been happening?
Probably some news items that you're going to cover at some point.
Probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. Trying to think if anything's happened with me worth sharing, but
I don't...
Somebody's phone is on. Perfect.
Yes.
We're out of practice.
Yay. Yes, we are.
unless that was the Pope or Ken Ham or somebody.
No.
Nope, that was just a real phone call.
That was just a real phone call.
Way to go.
It would have been a great time for me to jump in with one of those characters, but no.
We have some new tech upgrades, as we were saying. Look at this. We got a cough button. I'm not coughing.
And now he's coughing.
And you didn't hear that.
Right. Because that's what the button's for.
Amazing.
Brilliant. I may have some changes to my employment status coming up.
Good.
About which I can say nothing. It would be good. They would be good.
They're positive changes.
Then I'm happy.
Yeah. Helped finish up a big tabletop RPG project, the Kurt Hills Atlas for setting the world of Tecumel, for our game Bethorm, the Plane of Tecumel. Anyway, that's done. The PDF is shipped to the backers, and we've ordered the proofs of the physical books. So
Cool.
That's all exciting. As soon as those show up and we take it till they're okay, then those get shipped out. That's another thing off my back.
Yeah. I'm doing more industrial design for some reason. Being an artist and in the gaming industry for so many years, now I'm doing industrial design.
Yeah, but Dennis, your art style
cool.
is beautifully suited for that.
Yeah.
So you're the right guy.
I can do it.
If there's any guy that's suited
I
to
never
make that
expected
jump,
to be there.
yeah, and good work too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you post any of that for people to go see online?
Only when it gets cleared by the people I'm doing it for.
Has any of it gotten cleared by the people you're doing
Not
it for?
really.
All right. Well, when it does, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah,
So
I'll do that.
So the folks out there in internet land can go to your website and see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Russell, anything new with you?
Not that much. I'm working out of a conference room because my office is being remodeled for a few weeks.
Office is being remodeled.
Our section is
They're like
some walls
widening
knocked
your picture window of with the beautiful view of downtown Austin.
Actually, it's very dark in there because it's full of developers, and we like that.
Well, actually, you're not doing anything. You're waiting for other people to do stuff.
I assume he's doing some things in that conference room.
I am.
It's just a lot more people are looking at him
Yep.
in brighter, glaring neon lights, I imagine.
Yeah,
With a disco ball, I'm sure.
and much smaller monitors, which I'm sad about.
That's sad.
And my son is taking trigonometry, so I get to remember how to do all that. Weirdly, I actually kind of like it.
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
You guys have done computer graphic related stuff, and I'm sure that's come up
Oh, heck.
occasionally.
Trigonometry
in
does not enter into anything that I do.
And just gaming.
okay.
I mean, we have to figure out things like, if you've got a space,
Somebody's
if you've
moving
got
in a diagonal, how fast is it going?
if you've got a
that.
a space station spinning at this rate,
Right.
how fast does it have to go to get 1G if it's this big? You know?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
I want to make things authentic.
So
And yeah, a new year has started. I don't know.
we did already have a show, this year.
It's true.
Yeah, we
This
did.
is not our first 2018 show.
Yep.
It's just we forgot what we did in the other one.
I don't know.
All right, so let's do show then, shall we?
Okay.
Everybody ready to actually talk about things that we're supposed to talk about?
February, yes.
Well, I love talking about atheism and also statistics. So here's another one about that.
What's the latest statistic on atheism?
Well, the Barna Research Group did a survey where they actually separated things like the nuns and atheists. I think. It says it may come as no surprise that the influence of Christianity in the United States is waning. Rates of church attendance, religious affiliation, belief in God, prayer, and Bible readings have been dropping for decades.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's
good.
no surprise.
Well, yeah.
Because if it's no surprise at all, then you can't be extra happy about it. And I'm a little extra happy about it.
Yeah.
Here's something you don't normally hear in these surveys.
Yeah.
Atheism specifically is going up, and especially among younger people. The percentage of teens who identify as such is double that of the general population.
Wow.
13% versus 6% of adults.
Still not staggeringly popular, but hey,
No, but I mean,
it's those are better numbers.
yeah. The proportion that identifies as Christian also drops from generation to generation. With baby boomers, it's 75%. With 13 to 8-year-olds, it's 59% Christian.
Ooh.
13 to 8-year-olds?
Between 13 and 18-year-olds.
Oh, 18. Okay, thank you.
18. 13 and
they-
18.
Hope they weren't asking 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
So that's not to say that 8-year-olds can't have an opinion.
Would you like a 16-ton weight dropped on top of you, Eric?
Barna also asked non-Christians of all ages about their biggest barriers to faith. Generation Z non-believers have been, I forget what Z is.
Barriers to faith.
Are apparently
Barriers to faith.
Yeah,
I do not like the way this question is asked.
No.
Okay. Well, I mean, like it or not, faith is typically treated as the default state. Okay,
I don't like the way it's typically treated.
So Generation X includes me and probably you too, right?
Who knows?
Yeah. And then there's millennials / Generation Y, and then after that is Generation Z. And then they're going to run out of letters when those people have kids.
Right.
Can we start going into Latin or Greek letters? That would be cool.
I'm Generation Alpha,
Generation Sigma.
Generation VII.
Kappa Kappa Phi. Then they'll just all be fraternity boys. Well, anyway.
And then they should, in the future, will all wear identical jumpsuits with a symbol on of what generation
Well, that's what
we
the future
are.
is going to be like.
Yeah. And then and we'll all live in our own different cities, and they'll make movies about when young people get old enough that they have to move to the next city. And
that's interesting.
there'll be big fights over it and stuff. It'll be exciting.
So
Runner.
when they ask non-religious people what is the biggest barrier, what is making them not want to be Christian, the most common answer.
Why don't they just come out and say, why do you hate Jesus?
Let him finish his sentence, man.
Go ahead.
In descending order, I have a hard time believing that a good God would allow so much evil or suffering.
Problem of evil. That's a good one.
Evil. Christians are hypocrites.
That's a good one.
Astute observation.
It's a reasonable position.
It's not
I think
really a good argument.
troublesome as a response to, as a reason for not believing in God. I believe science refutes too much of the Bible. I don't believe in fairy tales.
Let's go back to Christians or hypocrites for a moment, because I think a wider way of that's probably like an item on a survey that was phrased that way. No.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it could be that they asked them the question and then gathered the responses under similar types.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like I don't believe in fairy tales.
It's not for hypocrisy per se that is the problem. Right? Because if somebody says, I want to go out and kill everyone and cut off their heads and drink blood out of their severed necks. And then what he actually does is he goes around and hands out like bouquets of daisies and things, right? You would call that guy a hypocrite. I would be happy that he was a hypocrite, right? Yes. I might want to sign up for whatever it is he's doing.
Right.
But so it's not hypocrisy per se. The problem is that they're jerks. That's the real thing.
Well, wait. What do you call wanting everyone else to obey your rules, but not you?
Well, it depends.
I want everyone to be going around killing people and chopping off their heads and drinking their blood, and then he goes around and he.
But it depends if the rules are good or bad. Because
it doesn't,
either
though.
way,
Hypocrisy does not require the rules that you're being a hypocrite about to be good or bad. They could be good rules. They could be bad rules that you're being a hypocrite about. And you want people to be a hypocrite about bad rules. You'd rather they got rid of them entirely, but at least you want them to not follow them.
Yeah, but there's a problem if they are promoting bad rules and then also,
Yeah,
like if somebody says, don't drive cars. And then they drive the car.
Yeah.
It's the rule that's the problem. If someone says what the rule that you shouldn't drive cars is the bad thing.
But just go with it, man.
Okay.
I assume he's going somewhere. Go ahead.
Okay.
If you say don't harass women, but you've secretly been harassing women all the time, that is a good rule and a bad thing that they weren't following it.
Sure.
Right. Okay.
I've totally derailed your news story, and I apologize. I'm full of excited energy from not having done a show for a long time.
Well, I mean, go back to what
we
you
can talk
to
about
say,
the whole.
Because I think I stepped
what
in
else did
your
they?
thing.
What else did they find?
I'm gonna back down. I just that might be an interesting discussion to have sometime, right? Hypocrisy is it objectively always wrong, or is there actually such a thing as good hypocrisy? I think there is.
Know.
That's a good question. I feel like we'll get some mail that will that discussion. Hint, listeners. There are too many injustices in the history of Christianity. Next. Now we're in the 15% range. I used to go to church, but it's not that important to me anymore. And I had a bad experience at church / with a Christian, which I feel like Christians,
it's like way down. Yeah.
I think Christians, if you ask them, would guess that that's most of the answers.
Yeah,
and
they would think that's number one.
And it's really about 5% of the answers.
It's and what's interesting about the fact that they think that that's the most common thing is that reveals that they have an awareness that there is a lot of that going on. Right? They're aware enough of that is actually going on to think that that's the most likely thing.
Interesting point.
And yet they stay in it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Hypocrisy.
Well, I mean, that's why Christians will sometimes come at you with, I agree with you. I hate organized religion. Those people are all terrible.
I'm so spiritual. Yeah. Yeah.
Except that is not a useful thing to say.
No.
I like disorganized religion. I like it when 1 week we pray to Yahweh on Thursdays, and the next week we pray to
Crumb.
Yeah, Crumb on a Tuesday night, and then the next week we don't pray at all, and then
a disorganized religion.
We roll dice to determine what day of the week we're going to pray on and to whom and what we ask for.
And how hard.
It seems to work out.
Here's a good bit. Nearly
Make that
half
stop.
nearly half of teens and millennials say, I need factual evidence to support my beliefs.
Nearly half? Nearly half.
Considering how many are Christians, I feel like that's progress.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And remember, that's half of all teens, not just the ones who aren't Christians.
Well, yeah, but then clearly it's not working out for a big chunk of the teen ones.
Yeah, well.
The Christian ones, I mean. Interesting.
Yeah,
it is very interesting.
Anyway, yeah, this goes on. It's at barna.com, and the title is Atheism Doubles Among Generation Z. So check it out.
Z. That's our last chance, because then, like you said, we run out of alphabet.
That's right.
Either atheism wins with Generation Z or it's over.
Yeah. Oh, and
Right.
right.
Or we have to go on to maybe we'll go to
It's
numerals.
Except it makes it sound like zombies or atheists. It's weird.
But then if we go to numbers, would we count down from there? Like start with 9? I guess you could start with a really big number so you could
Generation
maintain it for a while.
9.
Let's go Z and then, I don't know, 10,000.
I mean,
Generation
surely
10,000.
not,
And then there will be 9,999 and then Generation 9,998.
take one down, pass it around.
That could keep us going a long time.
Yeah.
Well, why not
20,
just
that would be
count up?
200,000 years, in fact.
Why not just count up and then it can go on forever?
Because then after Generation Z, you get Generation 1, and I think that would be very confusing.
All right, we'll start with Generation 27. And then keep going.
Generation NT. How's that? That would.
It should be a very large, if it's going to be a number, it has to be a very large number so we can count down for a long time.
All right. Every generation should just be assigned a generic universal ID number of
There
16
you go.
hexadecimal
There
characters.
you go. Could we
And
possibly?
that way they will surely be uniquely identified
Yes.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Generically labeled little boxes. Yes.
Could we like designate a year 1 of humanity? Right?
They already have.
Have they? No, they have. I mean, rational people.
We
and
reset the counter.
then we will have to rename the generations we've got, right?
Yeah.
But for every 20 years, you get another number. Then you could count up.
The problem is
And we can just keep
we'd
going.
have to, all those fields where you write in the date. We're going to have to extend that quite a bit to account for all the 4 billion years worth of zeros that.
Well, why don't
Maybe, but if we standardize this whole thing, then you probably in future the form you just give your birth date and it will calculate what
I
generation you're part of
believe
for
we
you and
have,
just fill it in automatically.
I believe we have just generated star dates. Except I never understood those things.
No.
But
Sigh.
thank you, W. Zukon, frequent contributor on Twitter, #NonProphets News,
Good job.
for that story.
Neat. Okay. How about a little I forget the name of this argument. John in Orlando writes,
Yes.
I believe that the confusion regarding the beginning of existence. What's the argument of the beginning? That's the first
Did
cause
we
argument?
discuss like Omphalos last time or something? No, wait.
First cause argument. I believe that the confusion regarding the existence of the beginning of his existence ignores the history of the argument. As originally
Yes,
presented, it was simply everything that exists has a cause, the universe exists, blah, blah, blah.
Kalam, that's what we were
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a fair... aren't people allowed to change, to like have a new version of an old argument and just take it from there?
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Because what if you had an argument that was almost correct, except for some little detail,
Yeah.
And then you fixed it so you could start winning.
Yeah.
But people turned around and said, you're ignoring the history of your argument.
Well,
You can't make that. You can't fix your argument now. I'm not saying that they have.
Right.
I'm saying, isn't it fair to let people do that?
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
agreed. Darwinism has gone through a lot of revisions and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you you changed what you got in order to address the evidence.
Right.
If there were any evidence.
Yes.
Which,
Or
which in
if
this
not,
case,
to address
there's
the
not.
evidence, to tie people up in, knots of weird interpretations of things.
Right.
So that they can't actually get at what's wrong with what you're saying.
Right.
I don't mind as long as the resulting argument hangs together on its own.
Now,
The problem is the arguments for God get weirder and more obscure and less clear the more people workshop them because
well,
they
they-
have to get around the fact that nothing made sense about it in the first place.
They have to keep patching it up, and it's like, it turns into nothing but a structure of patches.
I'm going to step out of character here and for a moment turn around and argue in favor of what John's saying on, on a certain level. I think that that religions in general are guilty, or religionists in general are guilty of forgetting the history of the arguments in favor of their beliefs. Mm-hmm. And not in the sense that, okay, you can't now make an argument like that because you're stuck with the way it was used to be done. I'm not saying that. But I think it is fair to say, to ask a person who is a believer, you know that the basis of the belief system, the beliefs of all these people that came before you, right? These thousands of years of people who have believed the stuff you're believing now, right? You know that's all been ripped to shreds and is bullshit, and there was never qualified as reasonable grounds then, right? Doesn't that bother you at all? That continually amazes me. I mean, when it's science, you can look back and go, well, yeah, we didn't know everything, and that was based on the observations of the time, right? But it was based on the observations of the time, and it was limited in a large degree by the technology we had for making the observations.
It was reasonable conclusion for the data we had.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the nature of religious arguments is they're not reasonable conclusions for the evidence that they had. They've kind of been nonsense all along.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the refutations we use today are also very ancient.
Yes, because they don't come up with much.
In that sense, and if that's all that John meant was that, why are people still arguing this when the original formulation of the argument was clearly bullshit? He goes on. The easiest refutation was, God exists. What caused God? Thus the beginning of his existence was born. God, it was postulated, has always existed and could be exempted from the causal requirement. It's just special pleading. Well, that's absolutely true. It's just special pleading. It's still just special pleading.
The way he phrased the argument is the non-Kalam version. Everything that exists has a cause, which is contradicted by the claim that God existed forever, which is why the Kalam specifically hedges by saying everything that begins to exist has a cause, but then they're just basically, at that point,
it's special pleading baked into the argument.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, John, in Orlando.
Yes. So, Jeff.
We all pushed our cough buttons for just a second there.
And we certainly didn't just have an awkward silence.
Yeah, no. It's a scheduled silence.
Yes. Jeff.
Yeah.
You asked me to do a Pope story, and here it is.
So, wait a minute. I want to set this up. So, I heard over the last few weeks that the Pope had issued an apology about having to do with something that he said back when he was just a cardinal or whatever he was in South America, right? And I'm always curious because you know me. I have developed an opinion based on repeated evidence that this guy will say things that sound just engineered to sound good out of context, but when you see the whole context, it's bullshit.
Yes.
So I asked Russell to dig up this story.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I mean, if I could put this in greater context for anyone listening from the year 2050,
Sure.
and doesn't know what that this year there have been a lot of different industries. I mean, people have been talking about sexual abuse of kids in the church for years.
Oh, yeah.
This year in particular, it seems like a lot of different industries, from movie studios to philosophy departments to have been revealed to have like very powerful guys who were abusing their power to try to get sex from women and covering it up for a long time. So I don't know if that's related to the Pope deciding to apologize about that now, but I bet it's not 100% unrelated.
It's been a criticism leveled against him ever since, before he was Pope.
Yeah.
So,
for years, victims of sexual abuse in the Roman Catholic Church and their advocates have asked when Pope Francis would adjust his blind spot on an issue that has caused enormous damage to Catholics, the reputation of the Church, and the pontiffs who preceded him. The Pope's remarks overnight Sunday, as he returned from a trip to Chile and Peru, apologizing for demanding proof of abuse from victims in Chile, as he continued to doubt them, prompted concerns that he just does not understand.
that seems like a fair concern.
Yes. There was great hope that this Pope understood. He got it. But if that were true, then we would not have his words today, said Marie Collins, a survivor of abuse who last year resigned in frustration from the Pope's Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors. Anyone who was still clinging to the hope that there would be real change in the church to this issue of abuse, and this change would be led by Pope Francis, will have lost that hope today. Okay, on his flight to Rome, Francis issued a rare apology for what he called a slap in the face to victims. He was referring to the crisis he had created in Chile when he said that he had seen no proof that a bishop covered up abuse. Here, I have to... you want to read this? The Pope is kind of your thing.
Yes, I have been flown in from where do I come from? Rome. To on a cloud, thrown in on a cloud, carried on the backs of angels with serpents' heads. So, here I have to apologize because the word proof hurt them. It hurt a lot of abused people. I know how much they suffer, and to hear that the Pope told them to their face that they need to bring a letter with proof.
But then he wound up making an unclear distinction between proof and evidence and offered a spirited defense of Bishop Juan Barros Madrid.
Really?
That.
I misunderstand.
I guess.
Someone who accuses insistently without evidence. This is calumny. If you say, I stole something, you stole something. I'm sorry. If I say you stole something, you stole something. I'm slandering you because I don't have evidence. So what am I saying? I'm saying that what I'm saying there is that my word is, I'm treating my own word as if it was the proof.
No.
What am I being accused of saying?
I think your inflection was wrong, Your Holiness. You probably meant to say, if I say, you stole something, I'm slandering you.
Oh. But if I say you stole something, you did steal something because I am the Pope and everything that I say is the truth because it is from the God. Always, if I say it and I'm sitting in my chair, then it is from God and always true. I'm not sitting. Well, the angels have brought my chair.
Juan Carlos Cruz, a Chilean victim of sexual abuse, said, if he wanted evidence, why didn't he reach out to us when we were willing to reaffirm the testimony that not only us, but so many witnesses had been providing for more than 15 years? Sorry, were there more quotes?
That is because people can say anything. What we need is the photographs, video, audio recordings, proof. Proof is what we need. Because that is what any reasonable person would demand that for any kind of a claim about something so serious.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway, as usual, it sounds like the Pope said something that half sounded like something a decent person would say. Yeah. People were excited, and then he very quickly walked it back. So it's the usual story with Pope Francis.
Yes, because you have to understand the important thing is to continue to have the good wishes of the flock. It is not. We're not going to turn around and start investigating all of our popes just because people say they have done bad things. I mean, all of our popes are, our bishops and cardinals and so on. We're not going to do that. Just because the people that give us money say so. That would be crazy. All right, goodbye. I'm going to be wafted away in a cloud again.
All right.
As soon as the music comes back.
See you.
Goodbye. Here I go. Oh, music did not come back. The chair, angels.
Great, now we're stuck with him.
The cloud is dispersed. Great. And it's reforming. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. He's gone now.
All right.
Get over this Pope, guys.
I don't like him. I really don't like this dude. Is that it?
That's it.
There's no more about him?
That's enough.
And this, I think
is enough.
I think it's important to point out that news story was in the New York Times. This is not some atheist rag with that's going out of its way to.
Well,
we have rags.
Right wingers would say that the New York Times is a lefty rag.
Yeah, they're hilarious. Okay, so Tim in Newcastle, Australia says, during your last show, there was an email from a listener regarding the hating God accusation that often arises from theists.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
The consequent discussion was more about whether or not it was appropriate to say that one can hate a fictional character, and it was an interesting discussion because there was some disagreement there. However, I fear that the point may have been missed because this is not the reason why theists use this line of attack toward atheists. It is not whether or not one can hate a fictional character, I happen to think one can, but rather whether this is the reason for why we do not believe in a God.
I think we do know that. We just don't waste time addressing it because it's ridiculous.
If somebody came to you and said, are you angry at your neighbor because he can turn rocks to gold by touching them? And you just dodge that question and you say, no, he can't. That's ridiculous, right? Yeah. I think you have very effectively refuted the question without even having to go to the point of addressing. I mean, you can then ask, theoretically, would you hate him if he could turn stones to gold by touching them? I mean, that's a question you could answer, but if the thing you're being asked about is nonsense, why even begin? So I think that's what we're doing.
Well, if a Christian says okay, so you just say you're an atheist because you're really just mad at God. No, I'm not. And I think what Christians say sometimes is atheists are mad at God, which proves they're not really atheists, which is also ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
grief, right.
Both lines of attack are wrong in different ways, and both responses are valid.
Yeah. Now, there certainly are enough people, including Tim here, who thinks that hating a fictional character is reasonable. So for them, sure, why not? Go ahead and engage with the question. That's fine. I happen to think it's utter nonsense, and so that's going to be my first response. And I don't think in doing that I have missed the point. I think in that case, the point being raised is a point that I find nonsensical, and I'm saying so. Mm-hmm. He goes on. The attack can be summarized as, quote, "You hate God and that's why you don't believe in him," unquote. We are free to hate Jason Voorhees, Emperor Palpatine, or Bowser. Well, yeah, you're free to. Nobody's ever said you didn't have the freedom to hate imaginary characters that don't exist.
We can do that.
You're welcome to do that. But except then, technically speaking, you don't hate Jason Voorhees. You hate the concept. The Jason Voorhees concept, because there isn't a Jason Voorhees for you to hate. Am I being?
I think.
Oh, Russell's
That's being unnecessarily pedantic.
I think you're splitting hairs, and I'm surprised
Wow.
that you, as an excellent dungeon master and storyteller, and an a person who greatly appreciates science fiction.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you work so hard to
Undercut?
undercut the emotional impact of a well-told story.
I don't, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm saying it is the story that the thing in the story that you're hating, not an actual thing. Do you think that proper appreciation of fiction requires that you actually believe that the fiction is true?
No, of course not.
That's all I'm saying.
No, you're not.
Really? How am I going? How am I going further than that?
Does Jason Voorhees? Okay,
I don't hate him.
He does not exist.
Right. So there's no him to hate.
There is.
How's that? What's the him?
If there wasn't a him to hate, we wouldn't know anything about Jason Voorhees. There is the stuff written about the character.
Yeah, and that's the stuff you hate.
No, I don't hate the script. I hate the character.
Yeah, no. Okay, so I guess this is where we're not communicating. And this, I think, is what we've got here is a limitation of our language, right?
Yes.
Because we don't have.
It is exactly.
Because if I say it's the concept of Jason Voorhees that you hate, you're going to say no. I'm fine that there is the concept of Jason Voorhees, I get that, and that's not what I'm saying.
Right. As a matter of fact, I love the concept of a good villain. It's something that is almost a requirement. I'm rewatching Breaking Bad right now. I'm just to Tuco. I don't know if you guys have seen him, but or if you guys have seen all of Breaking Bad. But I hate Tuco. I love that the show has such a great foil for the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that distinction.
All right. Okay. How do we clearly delineate when we're talking about a thing, whether it is an existing thing or an imaginary thing?
I don't know.
That would be handy to have in the language.
It would be nice. It would be nice to have. But, there are some characters in fiction that I would, swear at on the TV screen the same way I would swear at if I see Trump on the TV screen. So it's like, in my head, there's no difference,
Well,
I know intellectually that one is, doesn't exist.
And you know that
it hardly matters.
And you know that in your head. So in your head, there is a difference. In the one case, you know that it exists. In the other case, you know that it does not exist.
And emotionally, my emotions don't care.
Yeah, my emotions care. Okay, so we are free to hate Jason Voorhees, Emperor Palpatine, or Bowser, but this is not the reason for why we do not believe they exist. Well, sure.
Right.
Of course.
No, those
because a thing
those are
either
separate
exists
things.
or doesn't exist entirely independent of what we feel about it. That's what existence kind of is.
Yeah.
Likewise, we may love Tommy Jarvis, Luke Skywalker, or Mario, but we do not believe they exist for the same. But the fact that we love them is not why we believe they exist. And I find that the whole question so ludicrous as to not be worth.
Wow, it's weird. I mean, I go to see movies to be emotionally manipulated. And if the characters didn't mean anything to me, then why would I be emotionally manipulated?
Yeah, I'm constantly aware that the thing that I'm having the emotional reaction to is not a real thing.
Right. But to enjoy fiction, doesn't it require a suspension of disbelief?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay, we have a
I
fundamental difference.
I think that I managed to do it without actually believing it.
Okay.
I can suspend is thinking about whether I believe it or not. That I can do. I can suspend my critical analysis of whether it's true or not. But I at no point am I actively believing it's true.
Neither am I.
Okay. Okay, good.
But as when characters treat each other terribly, I get angry. Or I feel emotions. Those emotions are real.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not denying the feeling of emotions either, but I never attribute them to a character that as if that character was a real thing.
I'm trying to think right now. I mean,
you're aware
running up against the language again.
It is the language because ultimately you and I agree on exactly what's happening. It's just either I'm being pedantic or I'm on to something that's an important distinction, and you guys, I think, have voted 2-1 against me on this, so I'm just being pedantic.
Do you ever talk in terms of caring about a character? Like, I mean, to take an example, Arya Stark, I'm really concerned about whether she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I do. Here's my example. There's a British series that I'm watching on Amazon right now called Humans.
Yeah.
Is it Humans 2.0 or something, I think?
Right.
Have you seen this thing? It's I
I
quite enjoy it, and there is the premise is it's like modern day, except that there has been they have robots that look like people. Okay, with a couple of obvious tells.
Sure.
And they're not conscious beings. They're just machines. Until one day there are some conscious ones, and the whole series is about that. Okay, and so one of them worries me, and whenever she does something crazy on the screen, I tell Amanda, yeah, that one really worries me, because I'm thinking where the character is going.
Right.
But if questioned, like you're doing now, right? Yeah. Is it her that worries me? No. There's a development in the story that worries me that has to do with that character.
Right.
I'm at no point concerned that anybody is really going to get hurt or that anything is really going to happen. It's fiction. And the problem is we have a limitation of language, right? I mean, can we draw a line between our emotional reactions and our conscious awareness?
We can.
I think that's the line I'm trying to draw.
Right.
I have the emotional reaction.
I suppress my intellectual reaction in order to enjoy the emotional reaction.
Yeah, but the question of do you hate something is a question about the emotional reaction.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my emotional reaction.
Yeah. But then the other side of the question is it a thing? Or is it some other kind of something that it would be nice to have a clear way of delineating
actual person
that the thing that you're talking about is not a real thing, but an imaginary thing?
If an actual person acted the way that the character did in the story, I would hate them too. It's a scenario.
Would it just be muddying the waters?
If an actual person acted the way that Hester does on the show that I'm watching, then I would worry about that person. When I'm watching the show, it's not a person that I'm worried about.
Okay.
It's not. I know that it's not a person. Okay.
Would it just be muddying the waters if I said that really when you hate somebody, you're also kind of hating a concept of them?
Yeah, that's
I don't
reasonable.
personally know a lot of people. I mean, I do not know our Secretary of Education.
I think you can go there, but I don't see the point. I mean, what does that get you in addition to hating the actual person? It's not like then if that person then got executed, right?
Yeah.
That your hatred of the concept of them would go off and live a life of its own.
No, but I would.
Wait a minute. Of course it does, because Hitler, right? People hate Hitler.
And Godwin's law invoked.
He's long gone.
I was being so careful not to say Hitler.
There's no longer any more Hitler to hate.
Yeah, but I still hate Hitler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. All right.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Lastly, we're still on Tim's letter.
We're still on this letter.
No, he's going in a different place. A few weeks ago, the issue of whether Santa Claus was an appropriate example to cite as a substitute for God when making atheist arguments was raised. I think
I agree perfectly with that.
And somebody was against using that.
I think so.
I can't remember what the letter was about. Yeah. I think it is an excellent example to use because of how the belief in Santa Claus changes as we age. Mm-hmm. Many children genuinely believe that Santa Claus exists, and yet no adults do.
We hope.
You might want to. You probably want to put some kind of caveat in there.
Unfortunately.
There are how many billion people on the planet? I'm sure you can find an adult that still believes
there are people who insist the earth is flat. So, there are some adults who believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah. Then you could have an argument of whether those actually qualify as adults. I don't
know.
But this is because parents and peers stop reinforcing the belief in Santa Claus when kids reach a certain age. I think the same is true for God beliefs. People continue to believe because those around them keep reinforcing it, and they would likely stop if those around them stopped reinforcing it. Well, that's half of our job as atheists, is to be the people around them that have stopped reinforcing those beliefs.
Right.
Yep.
Keep up the good work and all the very best for 2018. I hope the coming year brings you some light in these dark times. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Worthwhile.
That was
discussion.
A good one. That was good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably wrong on that one. I'm probably wrong.
Oh, very worthwhile discussion.
I just think, but I do think the distinction is important to keep in mind.
Yeah,
of course.
And it concerns me when there are things structurally in our language that obscure important distinctions, right? And and since this is an atheist show, what I'm talking about are the kinds of distinctions atheists make versus what believers claim, right? And so the lack of any really simple, clear, obvious way to indicate, and I am talking about an imaginary thing now, right? Is one of those things that bothers me.
Right.
There are other languages that are structured in ways that those kinds of problems don't come up.
I guess.
Yeah, there are other languages have different ways to talk about
stuff.
Things about time. Yeah. So, all right. Things.
I'd
things
have
about
to
knowledge.
do research to claim that there's some languages that have adapted to deal with fiction. Don't know.
Okay.
That's interesting. That's something we should look into.
Shoot, I had one that I really wanted to read next, and then it was gone.
Yes.
Sure, I can read another letter
Heck
while you're
was I?
looking.
Yeah, go ahead.
James writes, when you were discussing whether copies of people are likely to feel as if they are the original, I was able to view the debate from a slightly different angle. One, we are electrochemical processes. We have no soul.
Right. Okay.
Two, as a 72-year-old, I have very little of the substance that I had as a child. Somehow, I still have a few memories from that time, but the child me is 99% gone.
Sure.
We won't quibble over the percentage. 3, me as a child is gone, dead. Well, I'm going to actually quibble about this one.
Yeah.
The child in you, assuming your 99% figure, is 1% alive.
It has changed.
4, the current me is only a fleeting conscious process. Yeah, is that really different from 1? I think that's kind of a restatement of 1. I can't help worrying about the fate of the future me, and that's why people set aside money for their retirement, eat healthy, and exercise and prepare for the future in other ways.
Sure.
If I could make exact duplicates of living beings, each would feel that they are unique, separate beings. We are all unique and separate beings, not only from each other, but also from our past and future selves. Wow. Okay. I'm not sure how that relates to the discussion.
Yeah.
I guess in one sense he is saying that Dennis is right because and people that are on that side of the argument that the copies are all unique, separate beings, but on the other end he's going that you yourself are not the same as you were, so why make a big deal out of it? What do you think? Because it's a sort of a restatement of but you fall asleep and then you wake up.
And wake up, right.
So,
well, I have my two continuities.
Yeah.
The continuity of consciousness and the continuity of material. If I wake up with the same brain, I have a relative degree of continuity. If I'm not knocked out, I have a relative continuity.
Yeah.
Which
gets us back to how can that be important if, like, you could wake up and think you have the same continuity of brain, but not, and you'd feel exactly the same.
Right. Well, nothing I can do about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, James. Have you got your article, Russell? No, he's still searching.
Yeah, I have an article.
Okay.
I was just sorting.
He has an article.
Article 1. Yes.
All right. Well, Vern submitted this.
Vern.
Freedom from Religion.
Our own Vern Grainer?
Yes.
Wow.
Freedom from Religion Foundation trumpets First Amendment victory in Georgia.
Oh?
The Freedom from Religion Foundation has ended a Georgia high school marching band's incorporation of religion into its performances. Last fall, it was reported to FFRF that the director of the Rome High School marching band chose a Christian worship theme for 2017.
Yeah.
The performance was called Alleluia, which literally translates to praise Yah, meaning praise the Lord. Furthermore, the performance featured stained glass church windows as props and included flags with the names of multiple books from the Bible written on them.
Pretty unambiguous, yeah.
FFRF.
Yeah, but it's just what they call ceremonial and symbolic.
Right. It doesn't actually mean anything. Right. God.
FFRF legal fellow. He's quite the legal
fellow, I must say.
Christopher Line wrote to the superintendent saying Rome City Schools has a responsibility to ensure that performances by school-sponsored groups do not impermissibly promote religion over non-religion or Judeo-Christianity over all minority faiths. Religion is a divisive force in public schools, and including Christian-themed music and props in a marching band performance alienates non-Christian students. A response from Rome City Schools was received this week, notifying FFRF that after it was informed of the letter, the marching band modified its halftime performance. So, well, that's a nice ending compared to they sued them and won.
Right.
And then the school was embarrassed.
It leaves one hungry for knowledge, though. Exactly in what way did they modify it?
Yeah.
It's like, we modified it. Now we carry a big old bleeding statue of Jesus on a stick down to the
goal line.
What sport was it? Football?
Well, FFRF posted this as a victory.
I know, but
presumably they
let's hope
knew about the details.
Okay.
Wow. Still.
Okay.
There you go.
And we in the marching band sings when the saints go marching in.
Secularism wins. Yay. Good.
Yeah. Jay says, I'm curious what the owner of the mall with the 10 Commandments monument in it thinks of number 3, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Is the mall open on, is the mall open on Sundays?
Oh, that mall. Right.
Yeah, remember we did a story about a mall. There was a mall.
Right.
I don't know.
We don't know if the mall was open on Sundays, and there's a whole can of worms here about what's the Sabbath. And
it would not surprise me to think that he closed the whole mall on Sunday.
But it also wouldn't. Well, I'll read the rest of the thing. Jay says, I don't expect nor want religious people to actually follow everything in their book. If they are going to take the time and money to put up 10 rules, though, they should at least follow those.
Themselves,
and this, no, I'm going to disagree with Jay here.
What?
I agreed with his previous sentence. I don't expect or want religious people to actually follow everything in their book.
Right.
Ever. Sure. In fact, I would rather that the more they don't follow everything in their book, the better.
Okay. Well, I happen to...
Wow.
So,
because just imagine that world.
I mean, I agree with you. To an extent.
And this gets to the earlier discussion, right?
Right.
Is hypocrisy objectively bad? Or is there good hypocrisy?
Right.
I think there is. I think hypocrisy is just a description of a situation, right? Divorced from the moral judgment of what the bits in that situation are.
But I'm delighted to rub that hypocrisy in their faces and make the point that they don't really believe it.
I don't know. I think I might want to go down there with a sign on Sunday when the mall is open and say, yay, F those 10 commandments.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and cheer him up.
And cheer him on.
Yes.
For not following
make sure
a rule.
I'm glad you don't follow your rules. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
I would think that we need more of that.
There is a way to answer this question because I'm right here on the mall's website, vistaridgemall.com.
And
Sunday, noon to 6 p.m.
There you go. And good for them.
They open 2 hours later than normal and close 3 hours earlier, but they're still open.
The less they follow their own rules, the better. What about Saturday? Were they Saturdays as well?
Yeah.
Okay, just in case they want to play though.
Yeah, Saturday is a full regular day.
Because you never know what kind of Christian, and some of them are going to argue over the Saturday-Sunday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like...
yeah, that's a tough one, man. Hypocrisy is supposed to be a bad thing.
It is... Consistency, it tends to be good.
Right.
But there are times when it is... I mean, isn't that the entire difference between liberal Christians and conservative Christians and why we like liberal Christians better?
Well, the thing
because
is,
the liberal Christians don't take their own religion as seriously, and we like that.
Well, the thing is, if they don't follow their own rules, then we can't trust anything they say.
It's okay, but what's worse?
It's a good
What's
question.
worse, the actual rules that a lot of Christians want to impose on us?
We know nothing about them. We don't know where they stand
Well,
anything.
we know what's on this Ten Commandments thing.
Right.
We know that this monument in the guy's store says we all have to worship his Jeebus. Right.
So,
actually, it says we have to worship his Yahweh.
Yeah.
But and we're against that, right?
Right.
What's worse, not being able to trust this one guy, or having to march in lockstep with the worship of Yahweh?
Well, I don't know, man.
I'd say the one is worse.
There's a rule that says thou shalt not kill, but I mean, if he doesn't obey that, that's bad.
That's not one of the ones I'd say is that it's good to not obey. Right?
You know,
You're
I'm saying that's my point.
what-
No. My point is that there's a contextual issue as to whether an instance of hypocrisy is
good or bad,
is desirable or not desirable.
Right.
You know, I'm very tempted to bring up verses in the Bible about not being a hypocrite, but then it occurred to me that if I did that, all I'd be proving is that they're hypocrites according to the Bible.
And not only
which
that, you'd
won't
be proving
advance
that
the
you're a
conversation.
hypocrite because you don't think that the Bible is the source of morality.
But they do.
Who cares? Who cares? They're full of it, right?
Yeah.
So who cares? I think it's too easy to get distracted by, low-hanging fruit. Like, you're doing a thing that is not in lockstep with this other thing you claim to believe. I care way more about whether you're after my freedom to believe what I want to believe, right? Whether you're demanding behaviors that are demonstrably bad for humanity, whether you're opposing the advancement of scientific knowledge. I'm concerned about those things way more than is the thing you're doing precisely what it ought to be given what you believe. I don't care. I don't care. It's not my job to berate them for not following in lockstep with their religion. They already have guys. In fact, the guys who run the freaking religion are the guys making money off of it. Why are we doing their job? Screw that. Okay. There.
Yeah, well, it's the same situation I run into when they'll say, oh, so-and-so's not a real Christian, just, he's not following, the teachings of Jesus, right? And you go, really? You want me to have the authority to decree who's a Christian and who's not? You're giving me that authority?
Well,
you can do it. You won't like it.
It's set up. The system is set up, right? The meme in our society that we're falling into when we point at a Christian and saying, you're not being a good Christian, when we don't give a flying rat's ass whether they're a good Christian or not, right?
Yeah.
They're counting on that meme to support their religion. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we should be doing that.
No.
We should not be supporting their religion. That's not our job.
Yeah.
Or giving it the slightest bit of credibility, which you do if you insist that some guy follow it. So, no, I think all Christians should be as hypocritical about their beliefs as possible. And good for them.
And
they will get my support. You got another news story there, Russell?
I have something even better.
Better than news?
I have some
My
shit. Internet apologists say.
Woohoo! I think maybe we should get rid of the echo and bring back the music that the Pope had. And do that. All right, just it's your bit. That music.
Yeah. You know what's even better than enjoying new statistics about how many young people are Christian?
Yeah.
Getting Christian reactions to how many teens are
Yay.
Christian.
Sure.
And their reaction to
Christian
other things.
tears are sweet as honey.
Yes. There were multiple stories actually recently that were dealing with numbers like this one. This one is in ChristianityToday.com and comes from an author named Kate Shellnut, who says, "Get ready, youth group leaders. Teens are twice as likely to identify as atheist or LGBT."
Okay.
Atheist or LGBT?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're the same thing.
Two great tastes that go great together.
Imagine Generation Z. The 70 million kids born between 1999 and 2015. And you probably picture them staring at their devices. A bunch of app-savvy, tech-addicted teens who never knew a time before smartphones.
Between 1990 and 2015?
1999.
1999 to 2015.
Yeah.
16 years, yeah.
So we've already got whatever that next generation is going to be. That's already happening. The post 2015 births, those infants, what are we going to call them?
Is that how long a generation is? I always thought it was 20 years.
I thought it was 20. They're making it 25.
Yeah.
But that might be more useful these days. But
yeah, I don't know. Personally, when I picture someone born in 2015, I do not picture someone staring at their device. I
no, that's
picture
a 3-year-old.
someone getting their diper changed.
Pretty
much.
Yeah,
babbling nonsense.
but Generation Z2 or whatever we're going to call it they're already in the world.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Well,
get ready, youth pastors.
I don't know. Can somebody look up the actual age range of Generation Z?
What did I just see? What I just did there? I made it up to them to name that generation.
Get ready, youth pastors. Here's some more people to predate.
Half of Protestant youth pastors consider technology and social media the defining factor of this latest generation. But a new study released today by Barna Group sheds new light on striking social and demographic trends. Teenagers in Generation Z are twice as likely as American adults to identify as LGBT or as atheist.
Yeah. The ones that are old enough to even...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of 2-year-olds.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could be, they could be 3. Sure.
On the one hand, I want to say maybe younger people who are exploring their identity are more likely to identify as LGBT anyway. But on the other hand, I also do feel like there's more acceptance of that than there was when I was a kid. So I'm going to just go with that. Anyway, then they cite some numbers, which I've already discussed, so I'm skipping a little bit.
Cool.
But I didn't read, this generation is more sensitive to LGBT issues overall, with 37% saying their gender and sexuality is very important to their sense of self, compared to 28% of their Generation X parents. Though teens exploring sexual identity have long been a part of American churches and youth groups, they haven't always been this open about their identity and willing to address it so transparently. Sinister.
Okay, all right. Let's get to where the advice comes in, because that's where it's going to go off the rails.
All right. I'm skipping over some quotes. Today's teens need that direction from church leaders as they grow more likely to identify as atheists and less likely to identify as Christian.
What was the previous thing about? Because we want to know. Because you just jumped from their open and transparent and identify with their gender more.
Okay, you're right. I did.
If you go from that to the church, that's sounding like they're saying the church should tell them what their gender is.
Yeah. All right, so this is Ben Trueblood, Director of Student Ministry for Lifeway Christian Resources. He says, It's a new challenge for student ministry leaders because there's more discussion in the public square regarding to LGBT issues. In the past, it was possible for difficult issues like this to be brushed aside or go unaddressed entirely. But that approach cripples the purpose of student ministry, he said. Now student ministry leaders are forced to teach what the Bible says on these issues, as well as equip teenagers to respond biblically.
Okay.
Forced.
Then they need that guidance from their youth pastor.
Yeah.
So the youth pastors are forced to teach what the Bible says? It's interesting.
Because if they don't teach it, then the kids will just learn about sexuality on the internet.
I'm actually thrilled that he puts it that way, though. You know? So, God, now I have to talk about what the Bible says about this stuff? I used to be able to just ignore it.
Yeah.
But now I have to. Now,
I
don't like where he's going to go with that, right?
No.
But I like that he's uncomfortable.
Now I have to tell them what Bronze Age sheep herders thought about all this.
Oh, no.
It's very inconvenient. And I just remembered where I found this because there was an editorial thing that I'm not going to wind up reading today, but it's at 538.com titled, Are White Evangelicals Sacrificing the Future in Search of the Past?
That's religion in a nutshell.
Yes. Well, I mean, yes, this article is very relatively cheery about that prospect, pointing out that it's really unpopular to be anti-gay right now, and evangelicals are standing their ground, and it's showing up at the polls.
All right, so I want to know what creepy, horrible things this guy wants to tell youth pastors to do to the poor victims they get in their clutches.
All right. A recent issue of Lifeway's Facts and Trends magazine focused on ministry to Generation Z, calling it the post-Christian generation, since so many are being raised by millennial and Gen X nuns who don't ascribe to a particular faith tradition. Previous generations grew up with some Judeo-Christian values of the past, at least as a reference point, said one student minister, Rick Eubanks of Oak Grove Baptist Church in Burleson, Texas. Among Christian teens, Barna found that most feel comfortable sharing honest questions, struggles, and doubts with their parents. Every young person needs to know that all their questions, complaints, and doubts and struggles have a hearing, said Brad M. Griffin, the Institute's director. They need to know that you and God are going to hear and hold the questions without pushing the young person away. Except that's not what they're doing.
Well, I don't know. They haven't got to it yet. Does this whole article dance around the question of what to actually say to these kids?
I don't. Just because it's Christianity Today doesn't mean it's an editorial. It's just,
but it's
a lot of.
It's no fun unless they bite the bullet and say,
true.
"Yeah, you got to tell them that Jesus says it's wrong,
right,
and that there's something wrong with them."
I'm getting to the end. More of it is discussing the statistics and worrying about it, but not coming up with a solution.
Okay,
because you know what, dudes, there's not a solution. Pack it in. Find something else to do your time. I understand they have a nice chess club wherever you're at.
So sorry.
Wow.
But that's where the Christian Post wound up. I feel like there was a
Christian Post.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you looking for something? Should I read a letter while you search?
Yeah, I feel like there was. There was a related article on the Christian Post that might give you more of what you want, but I don't know.
Check it out.
That's all right. Thank you, Russell. Adrian says, following last episode's shit internet apologists say, I'm not an expert, but from what I have been taught and what I have read by Richard Carrier, the Romans were extremely tolerant with regard to other religions. Remember, we had a discussion of whether polytheism is more tolerant than monotheism. And human sacrifice was pretty much the only thing they forbade, that and disturbing other religions' peaceful practices. Based on what Carrier said, I understand that they believe that the various pantheons were kind of different manifestations of the same gods, and it was a shock to nobody to have an Egyptian priest praying to Egyptian gods in a Roman army and crediting a Roman or Greek god for their victory. They were not very happy with Christians, though, for two reasons. First, because they were intolerant of other religions, the Christians were, and were disturbing the peace, preventing other people to practice, causing problems in temples, etc. Second, because they didn't recognize the emperor's divinity. Others did, at least officially, because what's the impact of another god in a pantheon of hundreds? Which was suspicious and was interpreted as them being traitors to the empire. Yeah, they objected to their emperor having like a big military parade, and objected if people didn't clap for the emperor when he was clapping for himself in front of big public gatherings.
What kind of point are you making here?
None at all.
None at all.
And that doesn't mean there wasn't conflict or even violence between believers of different gods of the same pantheon or of different pantheons, but it doesn't seem as built-in intolerance and violence as in the case of Judaism/Christianism/Islam.
Yeah.
I hope it helps for the interpretation of this apologist. Not sure what that line means. Okay. Yeah. So
monotheists pretty much have to be more.
I don't see why, but it does. The evidence seems to be that they have been.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because you could totally believe that your small cadre of your religion's unique deities are the only ones. You can draw the line wherever, right?
Right.
These are the only ones. I guess it's just that they get more practice. This is my made up bullshit theory. You get more practice hanging around with people who follow a different god when your religion has more than one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's something like that.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't seem to interfere with each other. The pantheons.
Yeah, let me
interfere with each other.
Yeah. Are we done on that? I wanted to ask if Dennis has a question. Do you have a question?
No,
Dennis?
I don't. Not today. Oh, sorry.
I shouldn't have even held out hope on a day when you didn't even bring an intro.
I know. I fell down on the job here.
All right. So
I think we should need letters from listeners calling upon Dennis to take this show more seriously. Yes, Russell.
All right. So we're going to go back to ChristianPost.com for shit internet apologists are still saying.
Okay.
This is submitted on Twitter by Cootie59, #NonProphetsNews, which is mostly an interview with this guy, Greg Steer, who is the founder of Dare to Share, where the 2 is the number 2 because he's hip like that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He was interviewed by the Christian Post, and I'm going to just skip the preliminaries and get to what he says. The youth group's trend of fun games and short Bible studies have resulted in frail youth groups and shallow young people, and spiritually immature teenagers will not lead their atheistic friends to Jesus, Steer said.
We need more of what doesn't work.
Right. So the tactic for getting more atheists into church is to make church even less fun. Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
that is exactly what you should do.
Do exactly that.
Let me just remind them, or maybe it's just me speculating, but I'm pretty sure the trend of just doing fun and not too serious biblical stuff in church is because kids were already becoming less religious.
Yeah.
And they were desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't correct him, man.
Yeah. I won't tell him.
Do that.
Quick.
Do that. Make your shit even less fun.
Please.
Make it more off-putting. Yeah. Make it more tedious.
Nobody link this show to Greg Steer, the guy running Dare to Share.
No, sure, go ahead. Go ahead. This dude would not be coming up with this if he wasn't already over that edge.
Yeah, okay.
He's not going to believe what we're saying. He's going to, they're trying to trick me. See? They're using reverse psychology on me.
Yep.
This is just proof that atheists really do want church to be less fun. That is what they're finding missing in it. It should be less fun, more regimented, and more just sitting there doing nothing and listening to a person preach at you.
Yep. He says, if young atheists have doubled, we must double down. And the first step is double in prayers. Oh no, don't pray more. That'll really foil us.
See, now you are doing the reverse psychology.
Wow. Sir, you are absolutely right.
That's right. That's why I left the church. I don't know if you guys have heard this story, but I became an atheist because I just didn't think there was enough prayer going on. I couldn't.
Right.
I just couldn't stand it and said, "I'm out. I'm
Only
out.
they
I'm
were
out. I want to be
They went
praying more." And they
serious
just
about
would.
it.
They wanted to have potluck dinners and social gatherings and stuff. I was there. I was there to pray to Jesus, and they wouldn't let me. I said, "Then I'm not going to at all."
I really want to know what.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I really want to know what went into this massive research project that Steer's group commissioned in 2013
Wow.
when they discovered, you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
The most effective youth groups reaching unreached teenagers were the ones that prioritized intercessory prayer. Uh-huh. I want to see that data.
Where they prayed,
Yeah.
they prayed to be the most successful. See,
Yeah.
and therefore
And so-
it happened.
Yeah,
by
obviously.
magic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Intercessory.
they're all scrambling around
God.
going like, our youth are leaving the church in record numbers. I know, let's pray for them not to.
That'll work.
And also just the very fact of this, really, you guys claim that you are hip to like the secret behavior rules of the universe, and in order to spread that, you've done a research project to like check to see what's the best way to go about it. Didn't Jesus already tell you? Isn't it already in your holy book?
Well,
really? Why don't you extend that research project to see if any of the crap you believe in the first place is even true?
That would be nice.
If objective tests by measuring reality are so important to you, why don't you just go the whole 9 yards?
And it seems like they must be failing at basic one-on-one interactions with people, because if not, they wouldn't resort to just praying for the Holy Spirit to change their minds.
Yeah.
So they're not just able to talk to them and tell them this is a good thing.
Wow.
If we want to reach the lost, we must pray for the lost. As it has been said, before we talk to people about God, we must talk to God about people.
You do that, dude.
You're praying for the lost.
Knock
The
yourself
lost,
out.
right? The lost.
Yeah.
The lost, who are the largest, fastest growing segment of the population, right?
Yeah.
And who are not having to conduct research programs to figure out how to get more people lost. I mean, we're curious about the statistics, right?
Yeah.
But the statistics we cited here, we didn't gather those. We're happily going on, continuing to grow because our viewpoint is winning. We are the winning.
Yeah, but please, we're begging you, don't share this episode with Greg Steer and let him know how afraid we are that he'll pray for people and reverse the trend.
Right, and then he'll cancel all the fun activities and the youth programs, right? Because they do that, kids will come flocking in droves.
I know. It's too horrible.
I almost made Dennis spit up his
I know, man.
Okay. Youth leaders must change their philosophy of youth ministry from being driven by fun to being driven by faith. The church cannot compete with the world when it comes to fun anyway, because we don't have the money.
That's true.
That much is true. Huh? What?
Because we don't have the money.
Oh, now that's a lie.
That is a lie.
You've got all the fucking money.
Think how much fun, say, now I know I'm jumping to a different kind of Christianity than this guy's talking about, right? But churches suck in cash and don't pay any taxes. So don't give me this crap about you don't have enough money. Just imagine if, like, the Catholic Church turned around tomorrow and said, you know what? Our goal is to spread fun throughout the world. Think how much fun. You're going to have, like, Christian paintball parks and Christian 3D laser tag parlors and Catholic, I should say Catholic. All right? If they just dumped all the not fun crap and just did fun, could change the world.
Yeah. You know, there was that Wolfenstein knockoff in the 80s, 90s, Super Noah's Ark. They could rebuild that franchise.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. Look it up on YouTube.
Oh, man.
Everybody.
Man, oh, man. Whew. Well, I got one last letter here.
All right. Well, we just have time
with
for that.
The internet apologist shit.
Yeah. Goodbye, Mark Steer. Wait. Greg Steer.
Phil from Michigan writes, here is a thought experiment. Good.
Very well.
What if a person was able to walk on water, turn water into wine, heal the sick, etc.? You know, all the Jesus miracles.
Right.
Suppose they also won the James Randi $1 million paranormal challenge under controlled scientific conditions.
Sure.
Okay.
Should we conclude the person is a god? No.
Not necessarily.
Of course not.
No.
Well, okay.
We
now,
should listen to what the person has to say.
What with is still with a skeptical.
Yeah, with a skeptical ear.
We'll have to define what the hell's a god, right? Because if you define a god as a guy who could do those particular stunts,
then you've
they are
satisfied the definition, right?
Perhaps they are a super powerful wizard. Perhaps they are an alien in human disguise with access to super advanced technology. How would we attempt to determine the true nature of this being? Well, obviously, in the relevant sense, I think what people mean by a god is a entity that it's worth worshiping.
All right. I guess.
I think that's probably doesn't capture everything.
I'm sure it doesn't, because there are a lot of different definitions.
Right.
And I know in one sense what I just said is not enough, because you could have a guy who's like really wealthy and really helpful, right?
Yeah, and people
who would do stuff for you as long as you worship him, right? That might be
name is
worth
Hank,
it.
and he wants us to kiss his ass.
It's so all right. Let me back away from that. Let's try a different definition. What if the definition is that the entity that deserves worship? Then there's a whole open question there. What does deserve mean?
Yeah, and does
to which the answer is nobody.
Maybe self-defeating definition there, because anything that deserves worship doesn't want it.
I don't think the focusing on worship is.
But why do you call a thing a god?
I would say like, the being has to have created the universe, but all the gods in the pantheons haven't created the universe.
Right.
They're just
there's plenty of historical examples of things that are gods. I mean, there's like gods of candlesticks, right?
Yeah.
The god of the candlestick, that you have a candlestick in your hovel and you drip some wax on it or something, or whatever the thing is, and boom, and that makes sure that your candles don't go out. That's it. Right? So the bar can be pretty damn low.
Yes.
My point here, this is back to Phil. My point here is that when many Christians read the Bible, they assume the Jesus character is a god without defining exactly what a god is, when either of the other options I mentioned seem to me just as plausible and perhaps even more plausible. And if we had more time, I would go through a quick rundown of what his character point value is in my Mighty Protectors superhero game, but we have run out of time.
Well, I got to ask one thing though here.
Sure.
Is there a religious angle on the car in space?
Oh, the car in space. So if you haven't Anybody out there who's not watched video of the Falcon Heavy launch? It's really quite awesome and inspiring, and ends with a cherry red Tesla Roadster being exposed to hard vacuum at the business end of this rocket's second stage. It's hard to wrap your brain around that is a thing that is actually going on,
and it's on its way to the asteroid belt.
It was
as we speak.
Yeah. So, cool. And say what you will about Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
I don't really care. I am glad that the thing that is happening, that happens to have him involved in it, is happening.
Yeah. I have to say, he some concentrations of wealth are really pretty neat.
Not all rich. I would have
not
to
all
admit,
of them,
not all rich people
some of
are our
them
enemies necessarily. And he's a human being, and so you could list for me things that that take him down a peg. Great,
bit of a crackpot.
do that. That's fine. I don't know of a person who's perfect.
Yeah, but
he'd be another one.
But he is shoving stuff into orbit, so I can't really argue.
Yeah, and trying to get humans on Mars pretty damn soon, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, that's our statement on that. At least me and Dennis.
Yeah.
Russell?
I'll abstain.
He hasn't seen the video. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you whenever, Dennis says.
Well, that was our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks on February the 21st. Until then, enjoy all dogma. Avoid all dogma.
Thank you for that.